Hey, g'day Internet. Today I'm going to go through a troubleshooting process, and it's a logical step-by-step kind of a Sherlock Holmes kind of deal. This is I was starting to think about this before making the electrical debugging or troubleshooting video, because you get yourself down some paths with the electrical, especially because it's highly interdependent and a lot of black boxes, and you can jump all over the place and not really get too far. So if you follow this process, it is quite logical, and it's hard to, not easy to follow, because you want to jump. You want to jump to what you know is the problem. That's part of the problem. Anyway, we'll jump right into it. So there's 6 inputs, and we're looking at this like a big funnel. There we go. Big funnel. You got the information coming in all over the place here. You want to eliminate the possibilities and put the best information in there that you can. It's just a logical process, and you're going to avoid wasting your time, spending extra money on things you don't need, and get on the road sooner and enjoy life. So that's what it's all about. So there's 6 inputs here. In a big scheme of things, 6 inputs that go into the big end of the funnel, so to speak. So number 1 is the evidence you're seeing. I'm kind of prioritizing these in the level of impact. The symptoms and evidence you're seeing, is it stalling? Is it not starting? Is it hesitating on acceleration, backfiring on closed throttle? That kind of stuff. That's your, the stuff you can see, hear, smell, feel, the evidence. And then behind that, maybe the second level impact is the history behind it all. Is the bike brand new? Did you just buy it? Did you just you're just breaking it in? Is it just out of storage? Does it have 100,000 miles on it? Have you taken great care of it, so certain things are in tune? Did you just do some kind of mechanical work to it? Did you that kind of thing? That kind of leads you down to the likely probabilities. Then there's the word for number 3, the probability. That kind of goes with the history and your knowledge of the components of the bike. The number 1 thing in electrical problems, spark plugs and battery. I mean, those things, the spark plugs wear out, the battery has a certain lifespan. Let's say you got a problem with it seems like you're going to troubleshoot the electricals, and your battery's over 3 years old. So after you've eliminated or looked at the spark plugs, for example, which would be the number 1 thing, hold on, back up a little bit on that one. Number 1 thing is, are you operating the bike correctly? Key on, the stop run button, is it on? The 3 usual interlocks, the kickstand, is it up? Is it in neutral? And is the clutch in? So those are usually the 3 things. There's more like 5 things there. So all those things got to be happening before the bike even starts, from a safety perspective. So then you move on, number 1, spark plugs. Number 2, maybe battery. And it depends on when's the last time you looked at them, when's the last time you replaced them or tuned them up, let's say. So, and number 4 for inputs, it's kind of along the way, is the test results. You putting an actual meter on or inspection. Is the what are you getting out of that? What information leads you to the next step? Hey, one thing leads to another here. Information is the next one, and that's kind of like a starter one. Is what's your spark plug gap? What's the ohms, voltage reading? All these kind of things that's in your service manual / repair manual. So do me a favor and click the links below. If you're going to buy one on Amazon, give me literally 50 cents. I'd appreciate it. And the last one is your skills level. Don't fool yourself in thinking you're you know more than you do. I do it on a daily basis, but the good place to start is I know nothing. So just kind of be the skeptical and kind of argue with yourself. Well, prove it to me. Why is it that? What makes you say it's the it's the black box or the ICU it's gone, or what makes you think it's the carburetor? It's kind of like a loopy-loop situation where you think, oh, it might be this, might be that, and then you start to put those items behind it, the 1 through 6, and think, Is one thing more likely than the other? What are the symptoms showing? What are the test results? And what have I experienced before? Or I'm just fooling myself here because I'm, for example, I'm not that good. This is the first time I've ever used feeler gauges, so, geez, do I know if that's set correctly or not? Those kind of things. So you can be a little skeptical with your results and your skill levels, let's say. So getting into more details of each one of these items, I'd highly recommend writing them down on a piece of paper. Smartphones and computers are great, but greasy fingers and little teeny screens not much good. And writing it on a piece of paper is old school, but you can literally connect the dots. You just take a pen and X stuff out that doesn't apply, and it's just the best technology. I'm old, screw it. Anyway, so the evidence and the symptoms, like there's checklists out there, and I'll throw one up there I can hack together. Basically, what are the operational feedback symptoms you're seeing? Like I mentioned before, stalling, hesitation. Go to the brake system. It's not braking it like it used to be. I mean, is it? But think about over time. Does the bike have to get warm and then it happens, or when it gets warm, does it go away? The weather conditions it might apply. Is it a humid day or a rainy? Does it happen after the bike sat for the weekend, or it was sitting in the sun, and all of a sudden you got issues with the gas flow? Let's say these are all things that you gotta put together in your deduction process to get to the end result, which is a efficient and fast resolution. The history, that's a biggie. Let's say, like, I just got this old Goldwing. I have no idea what anybody's done to it. I suspect that they did a bit of hacking around, but thanks to Honda engineering and reliability, it still runs great. So I don't know the last time it had an oil change or spark plugs, so I got to start from rock bottom and assume the worst, and also got to consider that maybe some goofball has actually put some wrong part on it, or put it upside down or backwards, or who knows, man. If you look at the video that I did on the electrical gizmos there, and stuff that somebody did was pretty bad. So I don't see the telltale signs of them getting too much deeper into the bike and doing damage, like rounded off bolt heads and screw, what the hell they're called. If they're rounded out, then you start to get really nervous that somebody's been in there and done some damage. But for example, a used bike you got to start from the very ground up. You can't assume anything that's been done or done right, or even if the correct parts are on it. So that's one major input. So you say you're coming out of storage. That's another one too. What are the typical things that happen in storage? Things get seized up, and so they get a little rusty. They get corroded. The critters can get in there. So you look at the airflow. They might have got in there and done something to your airflow system, got in the muffler, etc. So the probability is another one. In the arena of electrical problems, you got two things to check. Three. Is the spark happening? Is the spark? How old are the spark plugs? Do they look usable, or are they all gooed up or messed up? Are they gapped right? And then move on to the battery, or vice versa. How old's your battery? First thing, like, I got a 6-year-old battery and it's running great. Well, you should get a test on that battery, because let's say the probability of a 6-year-old battery performing well is getting pretty low. The bike can start and run, and then intermittently fail because, or act like crap, run like crap because of the battery being that old. So batteries are a big one. They are disposable in a sense. They're consumable. Then there's the test results. So again, piece of paper, write it down. Go through get your service manual, test it out. Write down the results. You're out of spec on a certain number of cases, and that points to another test, or it points to a faulty piece of equipment, like you're testing your coils, for example, and there's certain resistance going through the coils, and you just don't have it. Test it a couple times. If you have multiple coils, you can maybe switch them around, see what happens. careful with that one. Just make sure that you're doing that right. Look at the test results, and if they're out of whack, maybe you should just go to number 6 is your skill level, because sometimes you got your multimeter out there and you're testing and you think, oh, that's messed up, it's way too low. But double check that you're using the meter right and your skills are up there, and you have the specifications, which I jumped over. So the specifications, I mean, I'm harping on this like mad. You can't work on a bike realistically without some kind of shop manual specifications somewhere. Do not go to the internet on forums, because they're just a bunch of lunatics there, or there may be some people with knowledge, but they're going to tell you something. How do you know that's right? They could have just made it up. They could have been like these crazy people tell you to eat the soap pods or some bullshit, or put your phone in the microwave. Yeah, okay. I read it in a book somewhere. Yeah, right, you did. So, take everything with a grain of salt, but get that service manual and get the real specifications and the process to test, or the process to test. Don't take any chances for $40 or $50, man. I can't see you living without it. Otherwise, take it to the dealer and get them to work on it, or somebody who's got a manual or knows what they're doing. Because there's no shop in the world who works without a manual. They might they'll switch a tire out for you without a manual, but they won't do anything else without a manual. No way. They understand the efficiency of information. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you're that far advanced. Whatever. Loop around on that one a lot, because I find myself jumping to conclusions and then thinking I know this or that, and it doesn't work out. At the end of the day, you've gone through all this troubleshooting and you've written it down on a piece of paper, which is a smart idea. And you can't figure it out, if you got a buddy or somebody who can go to, at least you got this collection of information you can hand over to them and help work more efficiently. Or else, if you have to take it to a dealer, let's say, it's golden information to them, because you bring a bike in and say it doesn't work, it's not starting. Okay, you can just see the cash register and the dollars flying around, because they're going to start from the ground and do all the simple tests that you can do. So do the test yourself. If you get nowhere, it still doesn't start, hey, go and sleep on it, come back. That works. That's pretty interesting how that works. But at the end of the day, you haven't really lost anything. You've saved yourself some money by doing these simple tests yourself. Well, that wraps her up, and hope that's been helpful to somebody out there. And just a parting bit of information there. I'll put the PDF of a 2-pager you can print out and jot down the stuff that I'm the symptoms and whatnot that I've been talking about, the inputs to your debugging troubleshooting process. But I almost shit my pants there. I went to the library the other day, and there's some books on the shelf from Haynes. I was a bit raggy on them before in another video, but this is some basic stuff, like basic electrical tech book, really good stuff, and basic mechanical tech book here, and there was another one about something or other, I don't know, I only got 2 of them, but good source of information, your public library, like shit. I'm ordering this one on Amazon because it's just good stuff to know, and I should actually order this one too, the electrical tech book, because it's got all kinds of info in there, and like you're curious about how a self-canceling turn signal works. I'm not really, because it's a black box, you can't fix it. But interesting stuff, how it all works together, the motorcycle. They're a little old, they're from about 2000, and they're definitely from England, because they spell tire Tyres. But it's still applicable stuff and good. I'll put the links below, and again, you can pick them up at Amazon, $20 range, $25 sort of thing. Definitely good information to know. That's upgrade your skills, because nobody knows it all, although some people think they do. So anyway, wrapping her up. Hope that helps somebody out, and take her easy. Talk to you soon. Bye.